This is the FIFINE AmpliTank Tank 3, and it does a ton for its price point. But today I want to look at exactly how well it does those things, as well as answer the question, is this the best budget mic for beginners? Or even, is this a worthy mic to have in your arsenal as a more experienced producer? And just so you know, FIFINE did send me this mic so that I could do an honest review on my channel, but all thoughts and opinions in this video are my own. Also, I'm giving away this mic at the end of this video, so stick around if you want details for how to enter. Let's get into it. So the first thing you'll notice about the Tank 3 is that it's built like a tank. At the time of recording this video, this mic retails for around $90 US, and typically what I worry about most for mics in this price range is the build, because that likely determines how long you have with the mic until it goes kaput. The Tank 3 has some heft to it and feels solid, which is pretty promising. And sure, you do have classic dynamic mics like the Shure SM58 or the Sennheiser E835, which are also built like a tank, and they're around $100. But these mics are missing some of the key features that the Tank 3 offers. On top of being a solid dynamic microphone that you can plug into your audio interface, it also functions as a USB microphone that you can plug straight into your computer. So if you already have a good interface, this can plug into that just fine. But if you don't have an interface, or maybe you just want a travel setup where you don't need to take an interface, there are some cool features built into the Tank 3 for that. On the back of the Tank 3, you have an XLR output, USB-C, and a headphone jack, which you can use for both direct and software monitoring when using the USB connection. And on the side, we actually have two volume controls, one for mic gain and one for your overall headphone volume. And then on the top, you have this mute button that lights up red when muted and green when unmuted. And similar to something like the SM7B or this SD1, you have this handy little mount that you can attach to your mic stand and adjust however you need to. Dynamic mics often have a pretty low output signal, which would require you to get an external preamp or an inline mic booster to get some more clean gain out of it. So I kind of want to do a test with and without my Clark Technic CT1 mic booster, as well as just the USB by itself. This is the FIFINE Tank 3 with no mic booster. This is the FIFINE Tank 3 with no mic booster. And this is the FIFINE Tank 3 with a mic booster. And this is the FIFINE Tank 3 via USB. And just for reference, this is the SD1 with no mic booster. And just for reference, this is the SD1 with no mic booster. And now to get an idea for optimal recording position with the Tank 3, I'm gonna do a quick proximity test. Check, check, check. I should be getting quieter as I move to the side. Check, check, and back to this side. And now you can kind of hear as I back up a little bit what that sounds like. See if you can hear me back here. And then I would imagine the sound is getting a bit fatter as I get closer to the mic. Now, before I get into the pros and cons of the Tank 3, I thought it might be helpful to do a quick demo of a simple production using this mic to not only demonstrate what a more polished product could sound like, but also show you what you could accomplish without a separate audio interface.
Time, what's with all this time? The world rotates as I fall behind change. What's with all this change? Years go by, but I stay the same.
Now getting into the pros and cons, I'll start with the pros. Once again, I think the build quality of this thing is great, even better than I expected. I appreciate the mute button and onboard volume controls when you're using the USB connection, as it just makes things really easy to adjust when tracking. Also, as somebody who doesn't have a ton of experience with USB microphones, I wasn't sure how I would feel about the headphone jack on board, but I ended up kind of liking that I was never worrying about the length of my headphone cable because it was always just right here. It's the little things. And I do have a few cons, but I wouldn't necessarily say that these cons would deter me from buying the Tank 3, as the price and usability kind of makes up for it, in my opinion. Firstly, I've really enjoyed this free spinning connector on the SD1, and the Tank 3 does not have that. So when you put it on your mic stand, you're dealing with the whole thing spinning, which isn't a big deal, but it's just something to mention. It's also important to mention here that if you have no intent on ever using the USB functionality on here, the onboard controls won't do you much good as they only work with the USB connection. Also, it seems that the direct monitoring on the headphone output is constant and, to my knowledge, cannot be turned off. This wasn't a problem for me when I was recording that demo because I wasn't tracking with any plugins enabled. And if I really felt like I needed to, I could turn off the software monitoring in my DAW and still hear the click and the other tracks coming through while I'm hearing the direct signal of the mic. And lastly, I did a quick comparison of the quality of the headphone output between the Tank 3 versus my main audio interface, the Audient ID22, and I did notice a slight dip in detail when using the Tank 3, specifically in the mid-range. Though it's important to mention here that I'm comparing a $90 mic/audio interface with a $300 dedicated audio interface, so I should expect a difference there. So before I get into the giveaway details, I do want to answer the question, who is this for? And I have a couple of different people in mind. Firstly, if you're a beginner and want to start recording and you don't have a dedicated audio interface and you're on a tight budget, I think this is a great mic to grab. This way you can start out using this mic just with the USB connection, and it's a dynamic mic, so it's not going to pick up a ton of background noise compared to like a condenser mic. And also, as you grow and invest more in your setup, you can still use this mic with the XLR output. So even if you buy nice external preamps or a new audio interface, this is still a good dynamic mic to have in your arsenal. And if you're a more experienced producer, I still think this is cool because you can grab just this, a USB cable and some headphones, and go record outside or in a hotel room or wherever. I actually tested it out this way by tracking into GarageBand on my iPad for the demo you saw earlier, just to test how easy it was to use on its own. And it was so easy to use, I started to think, I don't necessarily have to give this away. But ultimately I decided I would rather bless one of you with this microphone than keep it for myself. So let's do it. If you want to win this microphone, I'll ship it to you completely free. All you have to do is live in the United States, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment that includes your Instagram handle, as that's how I'm going to contact you if you're the winner. I'm also going to announce the winner here on YouTube and on Instagram, so stay tuned for that as well. I really appreciate your support, and this is just one way that I can try to give back to this community. As always, thanks for hanging out.